Hey everyone, it's Mocha Mami here bringing you another video. And this is the second part of our student STEM series. So I'm going to have this young lady introduce herself to you, and she's going to tell you a bit about her educational background.
Hi, I'm Raven Smith, and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering with a minor in computer science. I'm still a student, rising sophomore, so fairly new to college, but I think that I have a little bit of enough experience just to share how things are going and how it is for stepping into college and really getting into your classes and stuff.
Okay, so excuse me, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your age range, excuse me, and like what part of the country you're in? Um, just so we can kind of get an idea about how you came to your decision that you did come to, as far as being an engineering major.
Yes. So I'm 19. I'm uh, I'm in the southeast part of the country. I won't specify the state just because of the school that I'm at. But yeah. And I got into mechanical engineering because I see STEM as the future, and I just love uh, futurism and uh, building things, and especially robotics. That's going to be my main focus. So things like that for me, it's just very interesting. So I chose mechanical engineering, which for robotics, there are really three ways that you can get in. You know, one through mechanical, another through electrical engineering, and then last you can deal with the brains, which is computer science. So
Okay,
I chose mechanical.
all right. So tell me a little bit about your high school experience, because again, so many people don't have enough knowledge of STEM to even know where to choose. So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you in high school?
Yes. So first of all, I was not one of those people who age of 6 knew that they were going to do this. Like, no. I figured it all out senior year of high school. So last minute. So for me, high school, I just, got really good grades, uh, like top 5% of my class. I did multiple magnets. I did IB and AP classes. I did the IB program and AP classes on top of that. Took some calculus courses. And, uh, obviously did the SAT. I didn't do the ACT. Scored well enough and did the whole, college application thing. And I also joined my school's robotics club, which
Okay.
definitely helped.
Wow. So you were fortunate enough to have a high school that offered a lot of opportunity for STEM education on the high school level, even though you were still undecided in high school. Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, but I will
Wow.
say that now it's getting very competitive. Like the people that I'm around, they've been, studying or not really studying, but they have experience like internships in high school. And like me just doing my robotics club, that was a little, it's not much, but yeah, there's definitely things you can do. And also my school didn't have everything.
Okay.
I was able to take calculus 1, but I had to self-study calculus 2 because they didn't have the class for me. Like it was even a fight getting calculus 1 classes.
Right.
Um, so definitely when it comes to AP courses, you definitely want to take things into your own hands. You can definitely self-study these things. Um, AP exams are very formulaic. Like every exam is going to be very similar to the last. I took mine COVID time, so it was a bit more different, but still,
Hmm.
going forward, you can definitely self study these things.
Wow. And I think that that's amazing that you had that opportunity, considering so many people don't. So thank you so much for sharing that. Um, and letting us know that it's something that we can fight for and something we can do ourselves if the school doesn't offer it. So,
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about what made you choose your course of study. You did say that there's three ways to get into robotics, but what made you choose your school, your major? What were some of the factors that helped that played into it, your decision?
Um, well, the school that I'm at, it's probably one of the top schools. I might even say globally for mechanical engineering, but definitely in the country, one
Mhm.
of the top schools for mechanical engineering. So, um, obviously, that was going to be like a first choice for me. Also, money, it's not as expensive as other schools. I mean, it's still expensive, but with scholarships and stuff, it's definitely manageable. Like, my internship now could have probably paid for my entire year. So like doing a summer internship or like a summer job, you can definitely pay your way through this school.
Mhm.
Um, Also, relatively close to my family and my home. I wasn't gonna venture far. I wanted to at first, but when I actually like stepped away, I realized, hey, actually, I want to stay close to my parents. So that's another thing. If you are a very family, if you're close to your family, you might want to like stay a little bit, stay sort of in your area. Um, but yeah, those are basically the reasons of why I chose my school.
Okay. And how did you end up deciding on mechanical engineering per se?
Um, like you said, I was like I'm really interested in, building the future, and I got into robotics.
Hmm.
um, I guess for me, it started with like reading a lot of books, and that sort of got my imagination flowing. A lot of fantasy, fiction, sci-fi. Um, and so I just thought robotics was really cool, just creating this this almost not sentient but close to sentient being. And no, I don't have a god complex. I don't. I promise. But I just find it incredibly interesting. Um, and obviously, like when you really get into it, we're nowhere near being able to create a robotic that is like humans in the mind
Right.
or even in the body. But still, I mean, we can we have done a lot of interesting things, and it's that
Absolutely.
what I'm really interested in.
Right. I think the thing that I've seen the most in the medical field with robotics is how many people now can live so much more independently, um, with the onset of technology, how they have um, robots that can clean for you, that can sort your medications for you, that can do so much that allow people who wouldn't have otherwise had independence, give them independence. So I'm very grateful for what it is that that robotics engineers and mechanical engineers do to give people some semblance of life back, even as far as assisting with helping people with mobility. So I am really, really grateful for all those contributions that they've made in the medical field. So, what are some of the things that you're hoping to do with a career in robotics?
Well, currently, just due to the opportunities that I've had in my internship, I've kind of been like thrown into the aerospace industry. So, definitely looking at robotics in
Wow.
aerospace. So, right now, there are a lot of like major companies like JPL and you know Blue Origin. We have a few more, obviously, SpaceX. Although I don't really know much about their whole robotics industry, but a lot of aerospace companies who are now like going into robotics or have been for a while. I mean, they've been using rovers on the moon, which is robotics. Um, so yeah, I want to see how I can sort of make my mark there.
That's like my spouse's dream to like go to space. So that's amazing. That's
he should
so
have
cool.
he should have snagged Bezos's ticket while he had the chance.
You're right. Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, we should do that for one of our anniversaries." I'm like, "There's nothing on this planet you want to see. You want to go up there?"
Actually, you don't. If you guys, they're actually, I believe, not going into space,
Right.
but you can mimic or go. Yeah, I think you can mimic on a plane 0G.
Uh-huh.
I haven't looked into it myself, but I know that my mentor, she went and to test, I think how plants function in space or in 0G climates or environments. So yeah, it's possible to mimic the experience without getting too crazy and just flying to Mars.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. I think you have to try it first and let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
So, what are some of uh, um, the on-campus resource you use or the academic support resources you've used to help you become successful? Because I know that the academic coursework is so intimidating to a lot of people. So, what are some of the things that you've used to help you be successful in your major?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So first, just talking about how you study in college in general. I'm not sure if it's necessarily every college. I'm guessing that it is, based on what counselors have told me. But essentially, the way that you study in high school and the way that you study in college are two very different things. That's first off. So,
I'm glad you said that.
yes. And it's definitely, you have to switch your mindset because in high school, they would basically just tell you everything that you needed to know. Just in that class, you could just learn everything. But in college, what you do, it's backwards. So in high school, they tell you everything, and you go home and you sort of just study that or just add whatever information you feel like adding on. In college, it's backwards. So you're at home, you study this yourself, then you go into lecture and ask, the questions that you need to ask, or basically get a refresher on what you learned. So you don't go to lecture to learn, really. You go to lecture to sort
To
of
reinforce.
cement, yeah, those
Right.
ideas.
Hmm. Wow. So, what are some of the I mean, I know independent study now, especially now in today's climate, is so much more prevalent. So, what are some of the independent study tools or resources that have helped you along the way? Because, again, this is still a new frontier for some people, um, especially if someone my age, right? Independent study is pretty new. So, tell me a little bit about what helps you.
Um, well, first of all, I would not recommend independent study. Everyone has been saying get a study group, but for me, I use OneNote. Um,
Hmm.
Most likely, your college will give you like a Microsoft account with a lot of things.
Hmm.
So Microsoft OneNote, and you just get a bunch of pages, and you can like organize however you want. YouTube videos. Oh my gosh, YouTube videos. As a matter of fact, what's his face? Michael Biazin for physics. One, his concepts are really good. If you're struggling, please watch his videos. Also, I think it's called three brown, one blue, or one or three blue, one brown for mathematical concepts. Literally all of them: calculus, linear algebra, differential equations. I think. So YouTube
Okay.
is a really good resource. Also, for me right now, Python is free. There are
Okay.
YouTube videos on, how to start coding, stuff like that. Also, my campus also has office hours, which isn't really independent, but still it helps to go see a teacher.
Uh huh.
And yeah, sorry, I kind
Wow.
of like rambled.
No, you didn't, because that's really all good information because so many people are intimidated by the coursework. But when but when other people who are in these programs say, this is what I'm using, this is who's helped me, it can really help build confidence. So when
Yeah,
this video goes live, definitely please in the comment section, put some links to those YouTube videos so that other people can see that there is academic support out there in addition to what's offered on campus. because again, with so much more people learning remotely or may having to learn remotely this semester, those things are going to be really invaluable. So thank you for putting that in there.
No problem. And really, I can't stress this enough. Like with college, you're really going to have to take your education into your own hands. Remember how much you're paying for it. So
Hmm.
just you really have to, study and gain that knowledge on your own, basically, or like
Hmm.
75% of the time. Just saying.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
good to know. But can you tell us a little bit about, because this is another question we get a lot, about what the outlook is for your course of study as far as like the demand, the salary, the just give us a kind of an idea about what the demand, or even just in your part of the country, what the demand is like, because I know that that can vary from market to market. So can you tell us a little bit about the economic outlook for your particular major?
Okay. So based on what I've researched, is that my mechanical engineers got around 86K. Um, I think that may be in uh, California. I'm
Okay.
not staying here permanently, so it's fine if you guys know that. But
Okay.
uh, and I think specifically for roboticists, that's around 90-ish K. However, I've been told at my school that their mechanical engineers immediately start out with six figures.
Okay.
So I think also talking to advisors, because they know more about like what the outlook of their own students looks like
Hmm.
on average.
Right. Yeah, because I do know it varies market from market, and what is a good salary really depends on that market.
Mm-hmm.
Six figures might not be a ton in some parts of the country, but somebody with a starting salary of 75, 80,000, that could really, change somebody's the trajectory of their life. So I'm really, really glad that you said that. Um, also, um, what advice would you give to somebody who is considering mechanical engineering, anything regarding robotics? What would be some of the things that they should consider?
Okay. So number one, math and physics, you will never get rid of. There's no walking into a math class and thinking, oh, I can just, pass this class. No, you have to understand the concepts, okay?
Hmm.
You have to comprehend. You can't simply just pass a class.
Hmm.
Also, another thing that you should know is that well, I guess I could name like a really cool thing. So within each industry, there are like these little cultures, right? So
Okay.
the aerospace industry has their own culture. The robotics industry has its own culture. Software has its own culture. And I think it's also important to find where you fit in cultures. There are different cultures in different companies. A startup is going to have a different company culture and different feel than a well-established like NASA corporation or SpaceX with like
Oh yeah.
thousands of workers.
Uh-huh. Very true.
Also, consider what it is that you really want to do, because even within mechanical engineering, there is a whole bunch that you can do. Like a lot. You could be a roboticist, you could go on to make cars, you could work on even just within aerospace as a mechanical engineer, you could decide to work on payloads, you could decide to build rockets, you could decide to focus on rovers. Like there are many different aspects. So try to narrow down like what it is that you are interested in, what it is that you want to do, not to limit yourself, because you can do a lot of things with the mechanical engineering degree, but
Right.
just to focus on something, just so
Mhm.
that you're not, just floundering around out there. Um, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that is very important. Like, just to realize an undergraduate mechanical engineering degree, it could lead to a lot of different avenues. And And it could, just to, I mean, keep your options open, but at the same time, you might want to have an idea what you want to do. So talk to me a little bit about your internship over the summer, without giving too much detail. But as far as like how you found it and what your biggest takeaways are.
Okay, well, I can't even tell how I found it because that would narrow my identity down a little bit too much. But there are fellowships that you can
Hmm.
join specifically for different industries. So I would look at those, and they'll hook you up with not only a scholarship, but networking, an internship. Some of them may even get you housing over the internship, pay for your flight there. So definitely look at fellowships. That's how I found mine.
Good.
And yeah, and my
Did you find it through
company's
career services or like on campus, or was it a professor that told you? Was it career services on campus?
oh no, actually it was we have a group chat for Black students at my campus, and uh,
Ah,
yeah, and so we just drop opportunities that we get. Yeah, the Black STEM community is pretty. I guess because there are so few of us. Yeah, we go fairly hard for each other. So
right.
yeah, that's how I found my opportunity. Someone just dropped the link in the chat, and I was like, "Oh, cool, I'll check it out." So
Wow. That's so it was networking through other students, not
hmm
through like, wow, that's amazing. So you ladies listen to that, like networking through other students. So, membership has its privileges. And I know a lot of times we want to be very insular when we go to college, like I'm about my stuff and I'm about my business. No, really take this opportunity to network with other students because it was somebody who knew somebody.
hmm
So I'm so glad you said that.
Oh,
Yeah.
also, I actually tracked down where they found it, and someone on my school's Reddit posted the opportunity. So if your school has their own little Reddit page, I would check that out too.
Wow. So your school's own social media. Wow. That's amazing. I'm so glad you said that because I know a lot of people like, where do I start? Did you think that your internship, because I know some people will take an internship and it will make them kind of pivot and change majors. What was your biggest takeaway from your internship?
For me, that I definitely don't want to be behind a screen for long amounts of time. At first, I came in and I thought, I don't like manual labor and whatnot, and I just want to focus on design, which I still do like the design aspect. However,
Mhm.
I realize that I'm being drawn more and more to the shop area. I just like getting my hands on things, building things. Um, so it definitely changed my mind about that. Yeah, I'm still going into robotics. However, now I'm considering robotics in the aerospace industry.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. So did you have to go through like processes of like security clearances and all that stuff or background checks?
I had to sign like two NDAs.
Okay.
That was it. However, I imagine for another, like a larger corporation, I know that some interns in my fellowship, they did have to go through like that extensive, because, aerospace, it isn't just private companies, it's the government
Yep.
as well, like NASA, that's government, even with NASA partnering with SpaceX, Blue Origin, like now you're getting into, you know, basically America's competition with like China and other
Hmm.
countries. So yeah, it is pretty serious in some cases.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking like defense contracting because I mean I
Mhm.
know like us being military, Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman,
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
and that was one of the things when we came out of the military. They heavily recruited us because of had gone through those background checks. So I'm really glad that you had brought that up. So what would you like to see for your future, as far as mechanical engineering? What are some of your long term and short term goals in the field?
So I guess I would say short-term goals. Definitely graduate college, get more internships. I would love to actually start from scratch and design and go through the process of building a robot, even if it's a smaller one. Long term, I thought about my own company, um, but I'd have to see like what I'm able to provide and stuff like that. I'm still
Mhm.
sort of thinking that out.
Right. Of course. Yeah, you've only finished 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
definitely getting my PhD as well. For okay, so from what I heard, when I was talking to a woman who works at JPL, for roboticists, you definitely want a PhD. I guess because
huh.
it's maybe like a lot of theory, and with theory comes, research, and to do research, you typically need a PhD.
That is something I would not have thought of, to get a PhD in wow.
Yeah. Plus, it's
Wow.
also getting pretty competitive. Like,
Mhm.
typically, you don't really need like you just need a bachelor's degree, but
Mhm.
now it's like, I wouldn't say becoming saturated because there are so many branches you can branch off into, but things are getting fairly competitive. Like, a lot of people at my job have their masters, so
Okay. Wow. So are you going to be working while in school, or was this internship for just credit or money or experience to build a resume? Will you be working while you're still in school, or?
oh no, oh no, that's way
Mhm.
too much. I definitely
Okay.
can't work while I'm in school, but this was for, yeah, money, and also experience, and
Mhm.
also most almost as important as experience, networking. The
Right.
aerospace is anyone who wants to go into aerospace, it is a small community. Like, people know each other from different companies. People connect with, like, I like my boss. He watches, like, if someone leaves from one company to another, they know. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
small. Okay, so be sure that if you go into aerospace, don't make a fool of yourself, please, because I mean it's a small industry.
Wow. So it's not even 6 degrees of separation. So you would probably know. So so I could probably say, "Hey, I know this person at Grumman who knows somebody at NASA or SpaceX," or right. Wow, that's something.
Yeah,
But I
although
mean, mhm.
cause it also depends because like some companies are large, but most often than not, like lots of people know lots of people. Also networking. A lot of things run off nepotism, and they're really looking for your experience. Like, you
Okay.
don't know how many times I've just heard of people in these in jobs, and they for example, sorry, I'm not the best at articulating myself, but for
Mhm.
example, some of the people now that are like coding at my
Mhm.
job don't even have a computer science degree. Like, they majored in um what's it called?
They don't have a computer science degree.
What's it
They
called?
majored in something else.
They majored in EE,
Okay.
electrical engineering. Sorry, I lost my
Okay.
train of thought. I was about to say
Okay.
electromagnet engineering. No, electrical engineering, um, which is fairly similar, but really they're looking for that experience. So make sure that
Mhm.
you're building your experience. You can branch off and do things, like you don't have to stay stuck in a spot.
Right. Any plan to go into the academic or business side? Because that was a
Um,
discussion on the last live.
Possibly. I may look into business. I'm not exactly sure. We'll
Okay.
see. But by academics, do you mean like academia, or do you mean like as a teacher or a
Like
professor?
as a teacher or as professor, have you done any tutoring yourself?
No, I don't plan on being a professor.
Mhm.
Maybe I do some tutoring for like extra money, but uh, I don't really see myself as like a professor type.
Okay, okay. Well, that's good to know. So you said that there's a pretty tight knit community of Blacks in STEM on your campus. Um, what about as far as once you get into the work world? Um, is there a network?
um,
Are you seeing other people?
we could network if we actually saw each other.
Hmm.
So walking in, um, it's white, maybe a sprinkle of Asian.
Okay.
Like that's pretty much it. But I will say though that I also joined NESB, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, and 60% of Black engineers have joined um, that club or that organization. So there's definitely some, semblance of trying to connect with one another. I will say that. But day to day, you will probably be the only Black person, especially Black girl, in the work area.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So, how has it been at work? Like just not so much, in the shop, but around the water cooler, Monday mornings when everybody's the how's your weekend? How has that been for you with your first
Oh yeah,
internship?
they're great. I mean, they're just some of the best people that I've ever met. Like everyone's seems so jolly. Everyone is like super. I'm not sure if it's just like California culture, but everyone's super like outdoorsy, doing stuff, camping, hiking,
Hmm.
going on road trips, and they're just fun to be around. Super positive people. You know, I mean, the environment's super. I mean, it's great.
Wow. That means a lot to like where you work and who you work with, even more so if you don't like the job. That's amazing. But so what does your day to day look like as a mechanical engineering student?
Okay, so you get up, you eat breakfast, go to your classes, study. That's what it looks like for me. On the weekends, I do my little things. Like I do ice. I'm in the ice skating club, so I do ice skating.
Whoa.
Don't even say whoa. I'm not really that good. I'm just starting out.
Okay.
I'm not that good.
That's amazing.
But it's fun to do. I just
Uh-huh.
finally figured out how to glide. So yeah, uh, yeah, definitely. Most of my day is studying.
Hmm.
Um, I guess also going to classes. I do also have some research with the professor. I'm not exactly sure how that will change my day to day, but I try to get that in too. Try to get in as much experience. Also joining clubs. Honestly, it's a big stress relief going ice skating because it's something physical. I'm not a physical person. I'm in STEM, but I'm not a physical person like at all. But I guess just exercising, just releasing that stress, it's really good for you.
Wow. Okay, so just doing like some kind of sport, but to for good stress relief, and you're spending a lot of time studying, or do you do study in groups? Are you by yourself? How are you a best learner, and how did you find that out?
Okay, so I mainly study by myself.
Hmm.
I will most likely try to find a study group this coming school year, just because everyone's been saying find a study group, and it's pretty difficult because I'm a very distracted person to study on my own. I'm not exactly sure as well how going back to in-person classes will change that. But yeah, I also switch up my environment when I'm studying because that helps me get less distracted from my work. If I get too comfortable,
Okay.
I'll start on my phone shifting through YouTube, and I need to be a little uncomfortable to
Okay.
focus.
And how did you figure that out? Did you figure this out in college? Did you figure this out in high school? Because I think there's still some people who are learning their learning style and their study habits. When when did you figure this out about yourself?
Yeah, I figured out college.
Hmm.
Because in high school, obviously we don't have like a big campus where we can just go study in different places,
Hmm.
and test out, like, how do I feel here, how do I feel here, what am I doing, like what are my common patterns of if I move different environments to different locations. So yeah, I definitely learned this in college.
Okay, wow. So, as a college freshman, what advice would someone who is now a rising sophomore, what advice would you give to the incoming freshman? Because I know I have a lot of that in my audience who'll probably watch this on rebroadcast.
Okay. um, Make sure that your GPA is right. Focus on your GPA, not too much. Still join clubs and whatnot,
Hmm.
but you don't want to go on like a downward spiral of like screwing up your GPA. Um, I managed to survive, but I feel like I could have done better. I'm still above a 3.0, but I feel like I could have done better.
Okay.
And you definitely want to, because classes do get harder, so you want to make sure that you're keeping up. You don't want to
Hmm.
start off low. You want to start off on a high note. And yeah, do join some clubs. Get connected with people. If you want to, if that's your thing, do service clubs. I'm
Hmm.
sure there are plenty of those. There are also clubs that have scholarships tied to them, or like
Ooh.
money opportunities, many organizations that you can qualify for. There are also pretty prestigious organizations where you have to have like a certain GPA to join, and they also have scholarships tied to them. So
Right. Yeah. That's really good about, like you had said, that certain organization that has some scholarships tied to it, because finance is another big worry. Um, what are some of the things some of the things that you advise as far as financing your education? Because I know that you said your school is more affordable. Um,
mhm.
but what are some of the things that you think that maybe incoming freshmen or high school seniors should do and consider? Because I know finance is a huge barrier for some people.
To be honest, I'm a very privileged person. My parents have basically secured my education. They'll pay for it all. But I do realize that in this internship, I'm getting quite a bit of money. So trying internships, for sure. If you can over the summer, if you can, work over the summer, if you really need to. I know that I wake up pretty early, and there will be girls in the bathroom getting ready for work at like 5 a.m. If you need to do that, going in early. There's that. There's also, the financial aid office,
Hmm.
who will have scholarships, uh, just scholarships that you can find online. I literally just type in scholarships for women in STEM, scholarships for Black people in STEM. And the reason why I do specifically Black and women is because it narrows the pool. Um,
Okay.
Specifically Black women in STEM. Yeah, those narrow the pool a lot. Like, you're not going to get a lot of Black women in STEM, a lot of Black people in STEM. If you just go to like a normal scholarship site where everyone can apply, you're going to have millions more people
Right.
applying. So you're going to lower your chances.
Hmm. Do you know anyone, or have you experienced things like angel donors, or have you experienced that, or know
Uh,
anyone who has?
no, I haven't.
Okay. All right then. Yeah, because we're out there. Okay. I'm really glad you said that. And I'm glad you
Oh,
talked about how
also,
you're, yeah. Hmm.
oh, sorry. I'm also in state, and because of my grades, I also, like, half of my college is also paid off for. Um, so look at what your state provides. And this is another reason why I was saying that I'm fairly privileged, because my parents knew that this state had this benefit, so they moved here. But
Yeah.
look at what your state can provide for you, like scholarships, like that are more governmental based as opposed to private.
Right.
Oh, also, so sorry. If any
Mhm.
of you guys don't mind working for the government, there is also the what's it called? The Department of Defense, the Star Scholarship. I believe it's for women in STEM or for everyone. I can't remember, but they've reached out to me multiple times, but I don't want to work for the government, so I denied.
Okay.
But they will pay for your entire college education as long as you work for them for the years that they paid for your college. So average 4 years. But for many people, that would be so worth it.
You are so right because I went to college on an ROTC scholarship, and you're absolutely right. Like the military paid for it, and for
Mhm.
every year that they paid for, I had to pay them back. Now, when it comes to graduate school, it's for every. It's almost like 1 to 2. Like if you get a master's degree, and if in medical school even more. So yeah, but it is worth it to be debt free. And like you said, the state that you live in. Like I remember when we came out of active duty, we waited a year and went back into National Guard Reserve because in this particular state, children of people who serve end up getting free in-state tuition. So that's another opportunity that parents. So those of you who are thinking about that, those are different ways that parents are definitely funding their kids' education through their military service, through their government service. And if, excuse me, and if you can leave a link to that scholarship in the comments after this video post to
Mhm.
possibly help someone um, who that trade off could be worth it for them. Yeah, you might end up earning less, but to be debt free could end up being worth it. So thank you for including that.
Yeah,
But
for sure. And honestly, now that I've met more people, like I wouldn't even mind working for the government because I recently met a guy and first of all, he's like rich now. He's in cybersecurity, obviously, like one of those really,
mhm, mhm.
but he's older. But he did a lot of really good work for rich people, the government. I mean, he has a lot of experience training. He does really cool stuff. So, that's another part of networking. Like, you meet people and you open up your options in a different sense.
Mhm, right.
Yeah, like your career options, and you open up your mind a little bit to things that you didn't think that you'd try before.
Right, exactly. And I'm so glad that you had mentioned through the government, through your state, because cost is a big barrier. But let's say that you do meet someone who maybe is a little bit intimidated academically. What are some of the things that you would suggest for some people who are a little bit intimidated academically about STEM? What would you suggest for them?
First of all, don't be intimidated. I know, especially in America, um, things like math and physics seem so intimidating, but don't approach it with that mindset.
Hmm.
Um, Open up your mind. It's I don't want to say it's similar to learning a language, but see it as that something not as intimidating. Um, throw yourself into it. Start from the beginning and like build up. Don't just get into calculus. Actually start with algebra first and work your way up. Um, don't go in thinking that it's going to be super hard and super difficult and not something that you can achieve.
Okay.
There have been studies on this. Your psychology makes a huge difference. Those who believe
Wow.
that they can typically do. Those who believe that they don't typically don't. Or that they can't typically don't. So,
Wow. I am glad you said that because, like you said, your mindset has a lot to do with it. And oh, wow. And it's like, I'm so glad you said that. And also, don't be afraid that even if it takes you a little bit of extra time, can you guys hear me clearly in the chat? Um, but please make sure that you do get the academic support that you need. And even if you maybe didn't have calculus coming into college, don't be intimidated. Um, just make it a point to get the help you need, to get the exposure that you need, and build that foundation, because that major will still be there for you. The demand will still be there for you if you need to take that extra semester or two to build up that skill. Okay, so
Hmm.
don't be intimidated. Um, do you see yourself on a traditional 4 year track?
Yes, because I have to, because my parents are sort of rushing me, but typically at my school, we take 5 years. It's
Hmm.
not uncommon at all to take five. It's hard. It's hard. It's a lot of work.
Hmm.
But I am taking like some summer classes. I am taking above the recommended hours. Still
Okay.
swimming, still surviving, but it is hard. But you can. But I am trying to do the 4 year track.
Okay. See this, it took me 7 years to finish my BA degree, so I can relate. Yeah, because sometimes that does happen, especially if you have to work your way through school and you are self funding. So I'm really glad you said that. Um, do you know people who are taking a non traditional track in your field of study? Have you met
Yeah,
anyone who's
there's
taken a non traditional track?
um yeah. I guess like I said, I'm very introverted. I don't know that many people, but yeah, there is a guy that I know who he already has a degree, but he's going back again for a different one.
Hmm.
Um, there are many people who switch majors, but that's more traditional than non-traditional, seeing as how like switching majors is common. But
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, it seems like it's more becoming more common to take a little bit more time. 5 years rather than the 4 years. Both have been both people that I know who are going like the 4 year and the other person who is going back to get a different degree. They're both fine. They're both successful. They can do their own thing. Um, I don't really think it affected them that much.
Right. Right. So, to those of you in the chat who maybe had a different degree or who have to make a career pivot, know that it is possible. Know that it is possible. Okay. Um, if you're if you don't have the support and you are self funding, so just know that it's possible to pivot that career. And um, so we're coming up on about 50 minutes. So, what would be the best advice that you can give to someone who is thinking about doing a mechanical engineering major? What would be some of the best advice you can give?
Throw yourself into the experience.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, it's very competitive, and do those competitions. Okay, you'll feel uncomfortable, but definitely throw yourself into the field. Um, do the research with a professor, do competitions or clubs that have competitions. Um, there do the research papers, and I don't know, like for scholarships or whatever. A lot of these things seem kind of intimidating, but don't be intimidated by these things. You just kind of have to throw yourself in there and gain the experience, because the experience is really what's going to set you apart. You could have a 3.0, same, like if we were comparing, like same college, whatever, 3.0 versus 4.0, but 4.0 has no experience, 3.0 has like a ton of experience and recommendations. 3.0 is going to get the job. So
That is true. I've seen that. I've seen CNAs, like nurses assistants, who have gotten jobs over people who had a 4.0, um, in a competitive bachelor's degree program. People who are like CNAs at community college who just struggled through get the job because they had the experience. And I'm
mhm.
really grateful that you said that. And I'm grateful that you are sharing your experience so that people won't be so intimidated by it and we'll ask the questions and we'll get the support and know that the support is out there. Have you ever had any big setbacks academically, professionally so far? Because I know you're still new to it.
Mm, academically, this has probably been my more not major, but it's been a bit of a setback. Like when you go to like one of those sort of top schools, like where everyone's the valedictorian, everyone's top of their class, and the classes are significantly harder. It will be a learning curve. Um, like you will have to take some failures that you're not used to taking, and that's okay. You really just have to uh, sort of get over it and learn. Okay, you just have to learn. You have to figure yourself out because it's not going to be like high school. College is a whole different ball game, and um, yeah, I guess that would basically be it. The major thing that I've noticed about not necessarily being as on top as you used to be is that you won't qualify for things that you typically would qualify for, like some scholarships. A lot of scholarships in college require a certain GPA, and you won't necessarily qualify for it, and that's been one of like the harder things that I've had to get used to, and that's why I'm going to be working more on my GPA. Um, oh yeah, I hate feeling intimidated, but I will definitely push through. Yeah, don't feel intimidated, Ujoka. You really just have to get used to the environment. But yeah, that's one of the major setbacks that I've had.
Wow. And how are you working to overcome those?
I guess I would, for me, it's more of like a disappointment thing because I'm very hard on myself, but not comparing myself to other people, you know, focusing on myself and what my learning style is. I visited some academic counselors, academic coaches, and they,
Oh,
give me
girl, say that
advice.
again. Say that again.
Academic counselors and academic coaches, they will give you advice. Actually, some of the things that they've told me about, there's this study technique, especially for people who are very scattered brained like me, studying for, let's say, 30 minutes, taking a break for 5 minutes, studying for switching to a different subject, studying for 30 minutes, taking a break. Essentially, what that forces you to do is because you have a limited amount of time, you're forced to hyper focus on that subject, and because you're switching to a different subject, you can't just go back and say, "Oh, I'll just study the next 30." No, you have to hyper focus, or else and then you have to switch. So
Ooh,
yeah, that's another thing.
wow. That is a good one. I mean, I think that some people would think that that would be counterproductive, but I can definitely see how that can work for someone who does have a hard time focusing. 30 minutes, that's something that's achievable. So, wow, that's a good one. So, I want to thank you so much for just, volunteering to do this and taking the time because I know that you work and you're still taking summer classes. Am I correct?
No, currently not now, but
Okay.
next year. And also,
Okay.
someone said, "Will that lose my confidence in wanting scholarships?" I'm not sure who you're replying to, but I'm not sure if maybe me saying that,
Mhm.
my GPA not being as high as it typically would be, maybe shook your confidence a little bit. There are scholarships where, your GPA is not um, necessary. So don't worry too much about that. There are scholarships. If you're good at writing, there's actually a scholarship. Ayn Rand, there's scholarships where if
Right.
you can write well, you get like 15,000, like a couple $1,000, if you win one of the top three places for this writing competition. Let me see if I can find it.
Hmm. Yes, I do know what you're talking about, the Ayn Rand scholarship. And I do know that, Over Redenbacher has a scholarship, and those are not GPA based. Even
Hmm.
if you work for Sam's Club, stocking shelves, they have scholarships. and they're not GPA based.
Yes. Oh, also, there was this girl. I'm not sure if they still do it, but she worked at McDonald's for a while, and McDonald's, they have a scholarship, and she got $5,000. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, there are many things like that.
Right. That's one of the reasons why you see so many adults working at Chick-fil-A, because I think if I'm not mistaken, it's $1,400 per semester. If you bring an A, 1,000 if you bring a B, and 800 if you bring a C, something like that. So it's like you have adults working in Chick-fil-A who are going to be like accountants or who are studying business at night. So it's possible to get scholarships that are not based on your GPA. Even some certain grocery stores, they're paying for scholarships for people. Amazon is paying for scholarships for their workers. So definitely there's opportunities out there, and don't be intimidated or too afraid to ask or just apply.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So right. So I'm so grateful that you have like a lot of family support, and that you had a lot of resources that your family is able to offer, as far as where they were going to live and how that was going to impact your long-term education. So many, and you had a high school that gave you a lot of opportunity. So that's a really amazing story, and I'm so glad that you shared that, because I know that some people, they look at this, they look at EE, and they look at mechanical engineering, and they look at STEM fields and computer science, and just see setbacks, and the fact that there are people who are overcoming and doing it and then willing to share. So thank you so much for that. So um, definitely after this video posts, be sure to check the comment section in case anyone has any questions for you. So I am really, really grateful that you did come and do this live. Um, so I'm so glad that you did that, and we're willing to offer everything you've learned, and even though you're still new to the field. So thank you, because I think that you've helped a lot of people. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no problem. It was nice coming on and talking to you.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful that you have. So, ladies, if you have any questions for Raven, um, you can just leave them in the comment section, because she was really generous with her time to help us with this. And ladies, just really know that um, this is accomplishable, that you guys can accomplish it. This is something that you can accomplish, and that there are Black women who are doing this and they're making it happen. So don't feel intimidated. Know that there's support out there for you and encouragement out there for you. And the network may be small, but it's still very present. So thank you, ladies, for joining me. And I definitely um, want to thank you, Raven, for just your generosity of time and experience that you're willing to offer us. So thank you for that.
No problem.
All right, you ladies have a good night. Thank you.